I didn't think that the risks I was taking were particularly bad. I would say what I thought were calculated risks, but it was interesting to note that the clinic put me in a high-risk group, and that made me really think.
I was going through a particularly sexually promiscuous period in which I was taking a lot of risks. And I guess because I'm quite anxious, I was continually going back to the sexual health centre to kind of get checkups, and then one time to check if I should go on PrEP. And I think one of those occasions I went to 56 Dean Street, and one of the doctors mentioned the study, what it would involve, and asked me if I wanted to be a participant in it.
So I decided to participate because I'd been in a number of serodiscordant relationships beforehand, and I had found that intimacy in these serodiscordant relationships was often an issue.
I talked to a friend of mine. I knew at that point what the pill was. He told me it was Truvada. He's HIV positive, and Truvada is part of his regimen. Talked to him a bit about it, and I pretty much at that point decided, well, when they get in touch with me, I'm going to do it.
I had a very problematic relationship with the amount of sex, maybe, but also the kinds of sex, how I felt about the sex I was having. And I think I'd constructed particular kinds of sex as like self-destructive. And so I think it was kind of interesting for me to consider going on PrEP.
I have often found maintaining condoms with regular partners to be slightly challenging in that you don't often think of condoms as being something that you incorporate with somebody that you're seeing for quite a long time. So PrEP to me was also another way to be able to connect with my partners more intimately.
I think before there was this kind of silence that existed between kind of feeling out whether someone wanted to use condoms or not, and feeling out whether I wanted to use condoms or not, and never really having a conversation until maybe sometimes after the event, asking someone about their status. But even then, probably not. And then since having been on PrEP, I felt a lot more confident about being like, this is my status, I'm on PrEP, and if someone doesn't know what that means, I'll be like, it means this and this.
So I think PrEP has had some pretty major impacts on my life. For one, I'm much less anxious about sex than I was before. I find that I'm not nervous about sex in the way that I might have been, even if I used condoms before. I feel like I'm able to establish more intimate relationships in a more healthy and a more productive way.
It was the removal of anxiety, and that is something I cannot quantify and which I cannot get across to people enough, to say that suddenly, after years and years and years, I've been around since before we had HIV. So I went through the beginnings of it, the fear, the terror. I practically gave up having sex altogether for several years. And then took on the safe sex message, the condoms. And after a while, started to slip a little bit in using them all the time because it just didn't feel as good. I remember what sex used to feel like. What I'm saying is that gradually it dawned on me that I didn't have HIV sitting on my shoulder every time I had sex, whispering in my ear, be careful, you could get HIV, you could get HIV.
There's this level of concern that I've had previously post unprotected anal sex that I don't really have as much now. And even if I do have it, because I'm getting regular checks every 3 months, I'm kind of like, well, if I catch anything else, that will kind of be caught within this very structured framework.
Emotionally, there are huge benefits to being on PrEP if HIV transmission is something that you're very concerned about. I think that PrEP provides a really great opportunity to have an extra level of protection and some extra peace of mind.
And it's changed everything. absolutely everything. It's made sex so much more enjoyable. And it's not just this business of, because you just want a bareback. It's more intimate. It's something you don't have to fish around for condoms all the time. I imagine it's very similar to how it felt for straight couples when they first got the pill and they suddenly didn't have to worry about getting pregnant anymore.
After having been on PrEP, I've been a lot more confident, and I've been a lot more selective about my partners. I'm not sure if that's to do with PrEP or if that's just a phase I'm going through in life. But so I've actually been having a lot less risky behavior. And so I'm questioning whether PrEP is right for me now and whether it'd be right for me in the future, or it's hard to map. It's not like I'm having bareback sex every week. And it's like sometimes several times in a week, sometimes not for half a year. So, yeah.
As a community, I think that PrEP will have a big advantage for dealing with HIV stigma. I think that it will help people to break down barriers between HIV negative and HIV positive people in a really productive way. The stigma that I've faced for being on PrEP, it in no way compares to the stigma that somebody living with HIV faces. I think that it has given me a greater appreciation for the ways in which people with HIV are stigmatized, and I've found that really valuable.
I think the great thing about PrEP, though, is that it can remove that difference between positive and negative, that we can become a community that is no longer divided by our HIV status.
As a community, I think we need to be noisy. I think we need to keep being out there and talking about PrEP and contributing to wider debates about it. I think we should be going to our healthcare providers and asking for PrEP, even though we're not going to get it. I think that it's helpful if we go and say, I want PrEP, these are the reasons why.
And I know there are plenty of people out there who want to take it. I'm constantly getting messages from acquaintances on Facebook saying, how can I get onto the study? How can I get PrEP? I want to be on PrEP. We have to create a demand. If there's no demand, we won't get it. But we have to create a demand, and we have to be vocal about it. And it's no good pushing the condom message all the time, because we know there are some people who still will not use them. There are people who will, and people who will continue to use condoms, and that's fine. And it's great, and it's good that it's working for them. But it doesn't work for everybody. And I've had conversations even before I was on PrEP with people who were negative and who were going to sex parties and having sex without condoms. And I said to them, don't you worry about HIV. He said, it's a decision I've made. I'll take that risk. Wouldn't it be better not to take that risk at all? Take PrEP instead. So that's why I think we need it.